Today on Tech Talk, we're going to look at this Sanyo double cassette deck. This was part of a system that was given to me, and very, very, very cheap. I mean, it's Sanyo wasn't a company that was known for producing very high quality stereo equipment. You know, they bought out Fisher, and Fisher back in the day turned out some very high-end parts, or very high-end components. Sanyo bought Fisher to get the name, and they turned out products under the Fisher name built by Sanyo for years, and people were actually tricked thinking that they were the quality that they were when Fisher was Fisher. But the Sanyo Fisher ones unfortunately weren't. They were this crappy quality. Take a look at this thing inside. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is the 1980s, and you know, cassette decks back in the 1980s really were still pretty good usually, but yeah, okay, you be the judge. Look at this nice plastic. You know, the whole idea behind a capstan flywheel was you wanted a nice big heavy flywheel like you saw in that that Sony, the TC, what was it, 141 I think that I showed before. Nice big heavy, you know, the flywheel probably weighs, you know, a couple pounds just in solid, and it's a piece of machined metal, you know, that's all been balanced. And here you got no weight here. You have a little stamped piece of metal back here and a plastic hub. Yeah, that's really going to provide you with good stable momentum. And the whole idea behind a capstan shaft is you want the flywheel effect. Motor turns the flywheel with a belt. The belt takes out any irregularities in the motor speed caused by pulsating on the little DC motor, because as the motor rotates, as the stator turns, there's a set of brushes, and as it switches from one coil to the next, you get pulses of power. It's not a good, unless you're dealing with a direct drive motor, you don't have a really good steady output. There's always some fluctuation in the speed ever so slightly as it switches from one coil to the next on a DC motor. So that was dampened by the belt and the weight of the flywheel. The same with the turntable. Good turntables, the really good turntables were all belt drive, and the belts themselves really weren't all that tight. They had a fair bit of slip on some of them. Would allow the motor to get up to speed, and the table itself would gradually come up to speed as the belt slipped a bit, and your speed was regulated basically by the momentum of the table. The heavier tables were better because you had less wow and flutter just due to that momentum of the table turning. The same is said for cassette decks. You got a good, and any type of tape recorder. Your capstan shaft itself, you want a nice good flywheel on there to maintain good tape speed, and you're just not going to get that with these plastic pulleys and very minimal flywheels. Anyway, at least this thing's got two motors on it. I remember seeing some where they had one motor and they had a double pulley on it, and the belt was stretched out from one motor to go around one flywheel, and then it went the other way to go around the other. Those were the really cheap ones, but this is bad enough. Anyway, let's just check this thing out and see if it works. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with this thing, and I'm just basically demonstrating the thing. We'll check the speed out. That's something that we can do. Let's check out the speed of both of these decks and see whether they're even close. So I'll turn on my amplifier, turn on my speakers to it, and get out my guitar tuner, and we'll see. Oh, it might help if I turn on the power. There, now I've got power. Play. Oh, maybe it's not working. Tape A dubbing. There we go. Had to switch in the wrong mode. Okay. Our 440 hertz tone, which is the music note A, is high. So we're just going to put the screwdriver in the back of the motor here. And adjust it so that it's going the right pitch. You would think that that cutout would have been lined up with the bloody motor so you could adjust it. No, that would make too much sense, Sanyo, wouldn't it? See if I can get in here with something. And of course, the transformer is exposed right next to, yeah, that's a good place. Drop my screwdriver, I'm going to have major sparks here if I'm not careful. Whoops. There we go. We're pretty close. I would say that that's on frequency. So let's try the other deck now. Take the tape out of there. Go to the other deck and see how far off it is. Okay, you gotta switch the inputs over on this thing. It actually, you have to switch the input manually. There's a button on the front for deck A and deck B. What a joke. Oh, that's really sharp. Look at how high that thing is. Motor speed adjustment is right here on the back of the motor again. And hear that wow and flutter. Do you hear that flutter? Here, let's make it worse. That's about it. That's about the size of things. Yeah, it's leaves something to be desired. That's just poor quality, right? That's just due to the that's just due to the lack of inertia on the flywheel. That's what's causing that. Nothing more than that. Let's check our, I'm just going to check my alignment here. Hopefully they won't get upset with me if I play some music for 5 seconds. See how the treble sounds on this thing. And I don't even know what these buttons do. Dolby here. Yeah, okay. We can adjust this thing on this. I don't think these doors come off. Most good tape decks you can actually lift the door off to adjust things. Look at this. These don't even lift off on here. That's it. That's where they are. So we don't even have a way to easily adjust the oh yeah, I guess we can. There's a little slot down there so we can get a screwdriver in. Whether it's going to reach in there or not, it's a good question. But I guess you can get a screwdriver in there. But I think it's probably sounding okay anyway. It didn't sound to be too bad. Didn't sound as good as my 42-year-old Sony though. I think that it sounds okay. We'll just take a listen to this other deck over here and see how it sounds. I gotta switch this manually because it won't. It's too dumb to switch on its own. Well, that one definitely has a sharper sound for sure. We'll try cleaning the heads on this thing and see whether that makes any difference. I think my alignment might be a little bit off on this. Maybe we can tweak that a bit and see whether that will improve the sound. So this design makes it pretty awkward to clean the heads. We'll give this head a scrub and just see whether it will improve the sound quality. Oh, there was a bit of dirt on there too, you can see. So maybe that's all it was. And then I'll show you how the auto stop on this one works, because this is totally different than other auto stops that we've seen. This one's just purely mechanical. It's just really cheap. So how does this sound now? Still sounds a bit not sharp enough. So we're going to just tune this up here. we've got our azimuth a little better. It was just a bit off there, so we've adjusted it. That's about as good as it's going to get for this thing. As I say, I'm going to just give this whole system away to any fool that wants it. We'll show you how the auto stop on these ones work. It's very, very basic. Basically, it's just a little lever right down here, that little white lever you see between the two heads. When the unit's in play, when the tape gets to the end, the tape becomes tight, it pulls this little lever down, and that triggers the auto stop. And basically all the auto stop is if you look over to the right here, you'll see this little lever. See the little lever moving up there? And all it does is it just makes contact on the flywheel itself. There's a little catch sticking out, a little ratchet catch. And when that makes contact with it, it's going to flip it. Just like that. And if I hold the button down, you'll see if I... See that? Every time... There's that bloody dog again. Every time the flywheel turns, it would catch that, and all it's doing is it's flipping it, which is basically tripping the stop button. That's how the mechanical auto stop on a POS like this works. That's it for this video. This is just crap, and thanks for watching.